Looks like Keir Starmer is under pressure and as MPs calls for no confidence vote. That's a minute ago, and this is 3 minutes ago, so I think we'll react to this one. Right here I'm showing. Supreme Court exposes Keir Starmer's secret EU deal. He may face prison time.
We grant the extension of time in respect of the finding of contempt in Leeds Crown Court and allow the appeal against that finding for the detailed reasons set out in the judgment, essentially because the process was flawed.
Just 3 minutes ago, Britain was shaken by a judgment that caught everyone off guard. The Supreme Court has struck down karma over a secret EU scheme, sending shockwaves through Westminster and sparking outrage all over the country. What was once hidden in the shadows is now exposed. It turns out there was a covert plan to align Britain with EU laws while going around Parliament. The public and the Democratic will behind Brexit. This isn't just a court ruling, it's a political earthquake, an event that has ripped open the already fragile trust between politicians and the public. Now, there's a pretty straightforward yet daunting question. If Starmer's willing to go this far in secret, what else has been kept from us? The Supreme Court's announcement hit Westminster like a thunderclap. In a unified decision, the judges called Starmer's secret EU alignment unlawful.
Oh, thank God the King knows. That's one thing I like to see. Thank God King Charles knows. Unbelievable. Congratulations, Keir Starmer, you played yourself. What do you think, folks? Do you think Keir Starmer should face prison time?
A scheme aimed at dismantling Brexit without any vote debate or consent from the people who believed in democracy. The courtroom's verdict echoed through the airwaves, fueling panic within Labour, anger among Leave supporters, and disbelief among millions who trusted Starmer to provide transparent and responsible leadership. In just one sentence, the court cut through months of jargon and behind-the-scenes maneuvering. This plan was an outright attack on Britain's constitutional order. The judgment didn't just nullify a policy, it shattered the narrative Starmer has been peddling since the beginning, that of a mature leader steady after the chaos of Brexit. Instead, what was unveiled was a strategy crafted in secrecy, cloaked in palatable phrases like regulatory cooperation and mutual recognition. The court stripped those words of their disguises, revealing them as cover for an agenda that could never withstand public debate. At that moment, Britain wasn't just facing another political scandal. This was something deeper, darker, and more dangerous. The revelation that the leader of the opposition had allegedly orchestrated a secret scheme to link the UK back to Brussels obliterated any sense of trust.
Unbelievable. I wonder what else Keir Starmer has. Swear to God, it's a good thing King Charles is now aware. Based on this footage that I'm looking, it seems like he's aware and he is disappointed. I mean, you can tell his expression, folks. He's disappointed.
Judges made it clear democracy can't be rewritten in the shadows. Parliament was pushed aside, voters were ignored, and sovereignty was traded away behind closed doors. The anger on the streets showed that people understood what was truly at stake. Crowds quickly gathered outside Parliament following the ruling, holding up signs that read "Democracy betrayed and we voted Leave, no lies." Their voices rose like a warning siren throughout Westminster. This was more than just a technical issue, it was an outright assault on the referendum that shaped a generation. Inside Labour's headquarters, panic spread like wildfire. Furious emails flooded in from constituency offices. MPs were quietly discussing inquiries, resignations, and even leadership challenges. In an instant, the facade of party unity crumbled, giving way to fear and suspicion. Who knew about this? Who gave the go-ahead? Who else was involved? The fallout is just beginning, but the message is clear: the Supreme Court has reshaped the landscape of British politics. Now, the conversation isn't just about managing Brexit anymore. It's about the very survival of democracy when leaders choose to operate in secrecy.
Well, it cannot be any secret anymore. If they want to survive this, they're gonna have to come clean. And Keir Starmer, he cannot put his head in the sand forever. Sooner or later, he has to face the consequences of his action.
Once seen as the steady hand is now being painted as a politician plagued by accusations of deceit, betrayal, and disrespect for the very people he claimed to serve. We're feeling the tremors of what's just begun, and the aftershocks will be felt throughout Britain's political arena. This ruling isn't the final chapter, it's just the prologue. The chaos that followed the ruling spread like wildfire. Within hours, Westminster turned into a boiling pot filled with fear, fury, and feelings of betrayal.
Keir Starmer is a traitor. That's what people are calling him. He's a traitor.
A polished image as a steady and pragmatic leader has been left in ruins. The Supreme Court's decision didn't just unveil a concealed policy but also revealed a mindset willing to operate in secrecy, gamble with democracy, and silence millions of voices. Labour MPs who once defended their leader as the responsible alternative to Tory chaos suddenly found themselves inundated with questions. Who sanctioned this scheme? How extensive was it? Why were we kept in the dark? Whispers in the halls of Parliament quickly escalated into a clamour. Backbenchers, many hailing from Leave constituencies, expressed their outrage over what they perceived as the ultimate betrayal of trust. Constituency secretaries saw their phones ringing off the hook, as local activists clamored for answers and supporters threatened to cancel their memberships. Not
just local activists, they're also people. Everyone is angry at this idiot, Keir Starmer. I'm 100% certain. Oh, which reminds me, I'm gonna have to assume there's something I need to add. There were 2 teenagers who have been arrested when they defend themselves against illegal immigrants. No, I'm not joking. It did happen. In the UK, instead of arresting the illegal immigrants, they arrested the 2 teenagers who were defending themselves.
Judgment didn't just crack Labour's unity, it shattered it into 1,000 shards. Outside Parliament, the streets became a stage for the anger surging across the country. Protesters held banners that hit hard, "No more lies," "Respect the vote," "Stop the betrayal." Their ire wasn't solely directed at Starmer. It was aimed at a political class that they believed never intended to honor the Brexit outcome in the first place. Social media buzzed with outrage, hashtags proliferating as millions voiced their anger. Clips of the Supreme Court ruling circulated rapidly, replayed over and over, often with captions condemning the secretive plan. This went beyond just a news story, it morphed into a movement. Starmer's name began trending, not for exemplary leadership but for scandal, secrecy, and betrayal. Inside Labour HQ, the atmosphere was thick with suspicion. Staffers murmured about advisors with EU ties, the elusive figures from the Blair era allegedly pulling strings, and confidential memos circulating only among a select inner circle. This ruling had cracked open a Pandora's box.
Look at King Charles. Take a look at that. He's disappointed, folks. 100%. Imagine if you were the king. If you were in his position, in King Charles' position, you'll be disappointed.
Now, every shadow, every rumor, every unexplained meeting was under sharp scrutiny. The front benches convened emergency meetings behind closed doors, desperately trying to salvage the party's credibility, but trust was already slipping away. Some MPs called for thorough investigations while others hinted at resignations, and a few even whispered the word that sends shivers down any leader's spine: coup. The air was thick with betrayal, and Starmer's silence only widened the fissures beneath him. At that moment, the Conservatives jumped at the opportunity. Tory MPs flooded into news studios and social media, using the ruling as clear evidence of their warnings all along, that Labour can't be trusted. Their comments were sharp, harsh, and aimed to hit hard. They accused Starmer of lying to the public and trying to secretly reverse Brexit. They called it a betrayal of democracy itself. The court had handed them a golden opportunity, and they wasted no time in turning it into a weapon.
Well, for starters, when Trump says something, it's bound to spark everybody. It's bound to spark a whole conversation. Starmer cannot bury that conversation.
Divided factions within the Conservative Party found common ground in condemning Labour's behind-the-scenes plans. Where they had struggled for unity before, they found it now in their outrage, attacking Starr as the man who attempted to pull Britain back under Brussels control. But the Tories weren't the only ones taking advantage. Smaller populist parties were also rising, their messages amplified by an angry public. Figures once seen as fringe were now sounding almost prophetic, insisting they had warned everyone about this betrayal from the start. "We told you," they shouted at rallies and in viral videos. "We told you." Many voters believed that the elites would never allow Brexit to stand. With the Supreme Court ruling, it felt like confirmation of their worst fears. Groups advocating for a complete breakup with the EU gained traction almost overnight, rallying enraged supporters who viewed Instamma's downfall as a sign. It was proof that Britain's sovereignty had always been at risk, always under threat, just one hidden deal away from being snatched away. As the political earthquake intensified, Labour wasn't just up against the Tories anymore. They were battling their own members, their own voters.
And don't forget Donald Trump. He's already put his tweet up, and now the whole citizens of the United Kingdom is raising hell. It's a full-on rebellion, according to what I've heard. Again, like I said, I know to the people of the UK and to my viewers from the UK, it is hard for you to protest without fear of losing your job or getting arrested. But you did it. Congratulations. Mission accomplished. Keep up the pressure.
Of grassroots anger that no spin could tame. Once trust is broken, it isn't easily fixed. In politics, when the image of honesty is shattered, every statement becomes questionable, every promise feels weak, and every gesture seems empty. Starmer had touted openness and accountability, but now he was accused of deceit and betrayal. His leadership hung by a thread as the nation clamored for answers. The Supreme Court's ruling was more than just a legal decision. It acted as a detonator, shattering the fragile state of British politics and unleashing forces that no one could predict. For Labour, this was just the beginning of their nightmare. The storm brewing outside Parliament was only the start. Across the UK, the court's decision reverberated through towns and cities, igniting a wave of anger that politicians couldn't overlook. For Brexit supporters, the ruling was a long-awaited moment of vindication, finally shining a light on the establishment's attempts to overturn their decision. For many, this felt like undeniable proof that the elites had been plotting all along, talking in pubs, marketplaces, and even on packed trains.
And when they do that, when they try to do so to ordinary people, guess what happens? Backlash. The backlash here, backlash there. And when you know it, it surrounds these elites and they try to bury themselves in the sand, but we all know they can't do that and they will be forced. I don't mean they will be forced to come out, whether they like it or not.
Shifted from everyday frustrations to themes of betrayal. It wasn't just the Leave voters who were upset, even those who had reluctantly supported remaining in the EU were outraged. They weren't necessarily against Brexit, but they felt that democracy itself had been trampled on. One commentator raised a pointed question: if they can keep this hidden, what else are they doing behind our backs? That thought lingered, casting a shadow of suspicion and distrust over the nation. People took to the streets, and protests began to erupt not only in London but also in places like Manchester, Birmingham, Newcastle, and beyond. Signs were raised in a collective show of discontent. Respect the vote.
Looks like everyone is joining, even the Highlanders. What about the Irish, the Welsh? Let's get them all.
Democracy. Starmer lied. The chants reverberated through city centres, growing louder and angrier, much to the dismay of those at Labour headquarters. Videos of fiery confrontations between angry citizens and Labour representatives went viral in no time, ramping up a sense of a nation on edge. What had started as simmering discontent had burst into a full-blown grassroots revolt. People weren't just let down, they were furious, feeling like their voices had been sidelined and manipulated. Meanwhile, in Westminster, the pressure on Starmer was piling up like a vice. His close advisors rushed to deal with the fallout, drafting statements, crafting talking points, and urging MPs to present a united front. But unity was slipping away faster than they could keep it together. Some MPs were calling for Starmer to step down, while others demanded an immediate inquiry, warning that Labour's hesitance was only making them look more guilty. The Supreme Court ruling didn't just overturn a policy, it threw Labour into a leadership crisis with no simple way out. Those who had been uneasy about Starmer's leadership saw their chance, sharpening their knives behind closed doors while maintaining a facade of loyalty in public. The betrayal wasn't just about the scheme, it was now also about the whispers growing louder within his own party.
They should have seen this coming. Sooner or later, they had to choose. Listen to the voters, deport all these illegal immigrants, or fail and have the whole country protest against you and put you down. Listen, again, in my country, in Selangor, 3,000 illegal immigrants were detained, of which at least 1,000 of them were deported. How come my country, Malaysia, doesn't have this kind of problems compared to the UK?
As time went on, those whispers turned into a chorus. The media jumped into the fray, replaying clips of the ruling, flashing dramatic headlines, and analyzing every angle of the situation. Starmer, who had worked hard to portray himself as the calm statesman, was now being depicted as the mastermind of a deception that was hard to overlook. Columnists and commentators spoke in dire terms, labeling it a constitutional crisis, the downfall of a leader, and a betrayal that could spell doom for Labour. Public trust, already shaky from years of Brexit turmoil, seemed to crumble entirely. Social media became a hobbit of anger, with hashtags condemning Labour dominating the trending lists. Starmer's supporters were drowned out by a flood of criticism, mockery, and calls for him to step down.
Keir Starmer, for the love of God, if you can't handle the heat, the only thing you can do is just listen to them. We all know he will not listen.
Change wasn't just in Parliament or the media, it was in the attitudes of the public. Across the UK, the government's actions deepened feelings of alienation, reinforcing the belief that political elites would manipulate democracy for their own benefit. As time went on, the gap between the governed and those in power grew wider, filled with anger, distrust, and a demand for accountability. What once felt like a push for sovereignty through Brexit shifted into a desperate plea for survival of trust, transparency, and democracy itself. For Starmer, the road ahead looked challenging. Every action he took was scrutinized, every comment assessed for dishonesty, and his silences deemed guilty. The judgment had unleashed forces beyond his control, jeopardizing not just his career but also the stability of his party and possibly the delicate political state of the UK. The Supreme Court had invalidated a secret plan, but in doing so, it also struck at the core of the Labour Party, leaving its leader trapped in a whirlwind of outrage with no visible escape. The fallout from the Supreme Court's ruling extended far beyond Starmer's personal troubles. This wasn't just another political scandal.
I think it would say, or in this case, bang, guilty. I don't know if they're going to arrest him. I mean, what do you think? Do you think Keir Starmer should face prison time? If so, put your answers in the comments.
Direct clash between the foundations of democracy in Britain and a political elite accused of playing by their own rules. The decision forced the nation to face a harsh reality. If one of the most powerful people in Parliament could secretly try to overturn Brexit without any discussion, how solid was the sovereignty that millions fought for in 2016? The implications were bigger than Labour, bigger than Starmer. This was a matter of the future of Brexit and whether the people's voice still mattered in a system many now viewed as broken. Following the ruling, Britain's relationship with the EU came under fresh scrutiny. The plan that Starmer's team had kept under wraps, regulatory cooperation, alignment, and reharmonization was now off the table. Still, the aftermath left deeper marks than legal issues. Supporters felt their worst fears confirmed Brexit was being dismantled, not through open discussions or democratic votes, but through hidden maneuvers. The feeling of betrayal ran deep, reigniting calls for a genuine Brexit, a complete break from Brussels' influence. Populist voices capitalized on this anger, pushing the message that Britain must never again be subject to secretive dealings or backdoor agreements. Now, the conversation shifted from whether Brexit was being honored to whether it was ever secure in the first place.
I don't know if America has the same thing with a secret deal. I'm not certain about it. Unless if there was a secret deal that I don't know of, I think there will not be a secret deal. At least not under Donald Trump.
The Conservative Party quickly positioned themselves as the protectors of sovereignty, uniting factions that had been at odds for years under one clear message. Labour can't be trusted, they hammered home, citing the Supreme Court ruling as proof that only they were on the side of the people. We delivered Brexit, they proclaimed. Labour only tried to undo it in the shadows. This narrative resonated especially in Leave supporting areas where tensions were already high against the Tories. After enduring years of their own scandals and internal conflicts, this ruling provided the Conservatives with a political lifeline, an opportunity to reclaim lost ground and re-establish themselves as the guardians of the referendum's outcome. But it wasn't just the Conservatives who were gaining momentum. Minor parties, particularly those advocating for a stricter break from the EU, suddenly found themselves gaining traction. They characterized Starmer's actions as the ultimate proof that mainstream politics was rigged against the common people.
There's also about the elites, and I think they will never do this. Evidently so. So here's the thing. I think Keir Starmer should do the one thing that is most reasonable. Admit his defeat. Take accountability. But then again, we all know these kind of people like Keir Starmer and his Labour parties, or in this case his Politburo, whatever you want to call it, they will not take any accountability. And whatever statement they put, it's not going to work. People can caught on to their BS. So Supreme Court did expose, based on this what I'm seeing, the secret EU deal. I don't know if Keir Starmer is going to get prison time, but then again, it all depends on the Supreme Court of the United Kingdom. Unless they say otherwise, we'll just have to wait and see. Congratulations to all my viewers from the UK. Continue to share this. Keep up the pressure. And that goes same for the people of the UK. Keep fighting back and keep up the pressure. We had to take every win we can get.
He's in real trouble, Captain.
I can't take another hit. 2 strikes. One more for the punch-out.
One left. Don't let him go home to Europe.
You boys got one more in you?
He's getting away.
Good
You
shooting,
did it.
Cap.
He's going down. Woo-hoo! Hey, that was some nice flying there, buddy. Tom, you gotta meet this guy.
Just let me land first, Joe. Plenty of time for introductions later. Besides, things are heating up across the channel.
Leave a like and subscribe if you want gaming news, gaming theories, or you just want to see me play games. Visit my first, third, and fourth channel up here or link in the description.